All right, as you begin thinking about entrepreneurship and new venture development, everything you're going to do hinges on you understanding this 8-point outline. These are the basic 8 points for your whole venture. Whether you're working on your business plan, whether I'm asking you about any aspect of your potential venture, if you met somebody and wanted to tell them about the idea you're working on, how you're writing your business plan, the presentation you'd like to make in terms of requesting capital for your idea, it all hinges on understanding these 8 key points in sequence of your venture. So let's go through the basics. Number 1, the product service concept. Number 1, you have to be able to explain to somebody what is the problem that's taking place in the market right now, and how is it that your idea fixes that problem. There's some kind of a gap out there in the market right now that's not being met, and you've come up with an idea that's going to fill that particular gap. We call that the product service, the thing you're going to afford in the marketplace. And we broaden that by thinking about it as the product service concept. Namely, what are all the features? What are all the tangent circumference ideas that go with that? These concentric circles that move out from the core idea in terms of features and benefits and functionalities that all create the overall description and story about how innovative it is and why it offers certain comparative advantage, why it has certain kinds of distinctive features and functionality or certain kinds of capabilities. So it's really important that you broaden and think about the full scope of your product service concept in terms of how does it fix some kind of a problem out there in the market. Number 2, you're going to talk about the market. How big is this market? You want to know, is it a $4 billion market? Is it a $40 billion market? Is it a global market? Is it a US or Western market? Is it more a third world or developing country market? Maybe it's a special niche market. It's just a specific subgroup of a subgroup within the technology sector or within the household products, or maybe some specific consumer electronics device or something. So it all comes down to defining the market. How big is it? Obviously, the bigger the market, the better shot you have of being successful in that. Number 3, the competition. It's really important that you then delineate who are the folks in the market at this time. Who will you be competing against? What do they do? What do they offer? What is their product service that's in the marketplace? And you're going to have to differentiate why you're unique. How are you different? Is it primarily based on features and functionality, or is it primarily based on price? Remember, there's 2 fundamental core basics here. Either you're doing something very similar to everybody else, but you do it at a much lower price, and that's your advantage. Or you're doing something really different than everybody else, and you're probably charging more for that, and people feel like they get more value relative to those increased benefits, even though they're willing to pay a higher price. Number 4, what is your business model? It's important that you're able to articulate, how does this idea, this product service concept, how does it make money? What is the price you think you'll sell it for to the ultimate buyers from you, whether wholesale or retail? And what is your direct cost of labor and materials to supply that particular product or service to them? The difference between the price you charge and what your direct labor material costs are is your gross margin. That's your gross profit on each unit that you sell. Then you compare that to your burn rate, which is your fixed overhead costs. And you have to figure out how many units do you have to sell at that gross margin in order to meet all that fixed overhead expenses. It's important that you're able to articulate your business model, and we'll cover that in detail. Number 5, what is your specific sales strategy? We call this the S3. The key here is that you can't just simply say we're going to hire a sales force, we're going to put coupons in magazines, we're going to go ahead and have ads on the internet, we're going to go ahead and do other things and so forth, because that's too generic. What investors want to know is, what is your specific strategy? How will you leverage some relationship or some kind of a referral that will get you right in front of that target market so that you can make that value proposition to them? Remember, that value proposition of features, benefits, functionality, meeting a certain need, taking care of an unmet gap that's in the marketplace, you want to make that pitch right to your target audience. And the question is, how are you going to get in front of them? What specific strategy do you have to get in front of a large group right away and see sales from that? Number 6, the operations plan. it's very important that you're able to articulate the basic mechanics of how this business works. Where will it be located? Where will things be manufactured? Where will the service be provided? How will the customers be able to ask questions? What's going to happen with the website? Where will the marketing people be? How will shipping take place? Where will distribution be? How many locations will you have? Will you be using subcontracted partners or vendors in this? You have to be able to give a very clear understanding of daily operations, how this business functions week in, week out, in terms of just the basic mundane 50, 60, 70-hour work week of getting product to the people, getting the service to the people. How does billing take place? What is the process by which the shipping and distribution, marketing, and customer service happens? Number 7 is the management team. It's really important that you have a really good group around you that brings credibility to the fact that you're not out there on your own, doing this independently. You need to have a good concentric circle of advisors, board members, other senior managers who are going to help shoulder the load and are going to be with you in terms of sharing the ultimate responsibility for the success of the venture. So it's really key that you have a clearly delineated advisory board, maybe a board of directors, and maybe 1 or 2 or 3 other senior key partners who are working with you in the senior management to bring this off. Because ultimately the question on the management is going to be, hey, it's a great idea, but who's going to make it happen? And the question gets answered by the management team. And finally, number 8, the financial plan for the company. Remember, there's 2 basic categories for the financial plan. The first is, how much money do you need to raise in order to make this thing happen? And then the second, of course, is at what time down the line will this particular venture be worth something so that those folks who put up the money to invest in the first place can get some kind of return on their investment. So there's the upfront money investment and ultimately an exit strategy somewhere down the line that provides them with a form of liquidity, a means by which they can realize a real return on their original investment in the company. So investment capital on the front end, exit strategy on the back end. Now as you break down the investment capital on the front end, that also has 2 components. You either have working capital and you have startup capital. The startup capital is the money you need to get the business up and running. They're all one-time expenses on the front end that get you set up. The working capital is the cash you have on hand to help you pay your monthly bills as you have regular fixed overhead expenses until you get to the point where you can break even and you're at a place where the revenue coming in covers all the costs on a monthly basis. So you need 2 things: startup capital to launch and working capital to take you out to your break-even point so you'll have some cash to pay your bills. That's the financing side of things. That's the capital funding side of things. The second aspect of the venture is the exit strategy. And remember, there are probably 2 or 3 different exit strategies, but some people will say, well, we're going to go public someday, and that's not always really a viable option for a lot of companies. Most likely, one of the best exit strategies is to be acquired by another firm that has good complementarity, good synergy with your idea. So ultimately, everything you're working on during the course of new venture development is focused on a really great product service concept that you're going to further develop. You're going to get it past the hurdles of feasibility and viability. You're going to show us that it's at a great market. You're going to show a competitive analysis on why you're unique and what your comparative advantage is relative to the competition. You'll be able to have a clearly articulated business model of how this particular idea makes money. You'll also have a really clear strategy of how you're going to get your value proposition right in front of that particular target market that you would like to get that value proposition to. You'd like to really pitch them on, this is a great solution to that problem in the marketplace. This fills the gap that's out there right now. Operations, you'll have thought through and understand all the realities of how this business will work weekly, monthly, quarterly, all throughout the year in terms of all the logistics. You'll talk about having a great management team that you've configured that's coming together and has really good experience and works well together and brings a lot of crucial value to this business in terms of sales, marketing, technical expertise, engineering, financial implications, etc. Good range of talent that's coming together. And ultimately, you'll have a financial plan that makes sense. You'll know how much money you need to raise, what kind of an offer in the company you're offering for that particular funding. Some is going to be for startup capital, some for working capital, and ultimately you'll have a plan to take the business out to a reasonable time period where you think there's an expected exit strategy where original investors can realize a return, a liquidity event on their original investment. So everything will be based on this 8-point venture outline.